It's Mrs. Montgomery here with today's story. I cannot believe that when I looked out my window this morning, there was snow. On April 18th, we have snow, which is pretty wild, right? But that's what we get in New England sometimes, is surprise weather, don't we? So we've got a little bit of snow. This is my last story before April break begins, because tomorrow is Sunday, and then we'll have a nice week of relaxing with our families. Instead of a vacation, you can have a staycation, which is staying at home, and you can still plan some really fun things to do. So today, because there's snow outside, which is so unbelievable, I thought I was done with all my winter books, but I thought I would read The Mitten. Now, The Mitten is a story that's been passed down for a long, long time. So a lot of authors have rewritten the Mitten story and printed it as their own. So at school, we've looked at Jan Brett's version of The Mitten, and this is a version by Alvin Tresselt, and this is a version from a long time ago, and the illustrations are really neat. The illustrations are Russian, and I was just trying to peek and see what year this was printed for you guys. Okay, so this edition is from the 60s, the 1960s as well, but these are really neat illustrations, and they were done by a Russian illustrator, and they're very cool. And so they alternate. One page is blue and white and black, and then the next page is full color. So here is my favorite version of The Mitten. It was the coldest day of the winter, and a little boy was trudging through the forest, gathering firewood for his grandmother. "Bring back all you can find," the old woman had said, as she sat knitting a pair of mittens. "The north wind blows cold, and we must have a good fire to keep us warm." And there's the boy collecting firewood in the woods. All morning, the boy worked, picking up sticks until his sled was well loaded. Then a very strange thing happened. Just as he picked up the last stick, he dropped one of his mittens in the snow. Now, how a boy could do this on the coldest day of winter, I'll never know. But that's the way my grandfather tells the story. Off he went with his load of wood, and the mitten was left lying on a snowdrift. So there's the mitten. There's the As soon as he was out of sight, a little mouse came scurrying through the woods. She was very cold, and when she spied the little boy's mitten with its feathery fur cuff, she popped right in to get warm. It was just the right size for a tiny mouse. There she is. She wants to hop in the mitten. Presently, a green frog came hip-hopping over the snow. "Anybody home?" she asked when she saw the mitten. "Only me," said the mouse, "and come in quickly before you freeze." They had no sooner settled themselves snugly in the red wool lining when an owl flew down. "May I join you in that lovely mitten?" he asked. "If you mind your manners," replied the mouse, for owls always made her nervous. Why do owls make the mouse nervous? What do owls eat? Think about that. "And don't wiggle around too much," added the frog, "because it's a bit tight in here." There they are, snuggled up. And there's Owl. It wasn't long before a rabbit came down the forest path. "Is there room for me in that nice warm mitten?" asked the rabbit. "It's awfully cold out here." "Not much space left," said the mouse and the frog and the owl. "But come in, we'll see what we can do." They're being pretty generous, right? Even before the rabbit had gotten herself tucked in, a fox trotted up to the mitten, and after a good deal of trouble she got herself in among the others. The mouse was beginning to think maybe she shouldn't have been so generous, but with the bitter wind outside, what else could she do? What a nice mouse, right? And now, as if things weren't bad enough, the next visitor was a big gray wolf who wanted to come in too. I don't know how we'll manage it, said the mouse, but we'll try. Everyone moved around a bit, and finally the wolf was squeezed into the mitten. It was very crowded by now, but at least it was warm. I think he looks a little bit creepy, the wolf. Things had just gotten arranged nicely when the animals heard a great snorting. It was a wild boar, and he was very anxious to get in out of the wind. Oh dear, cried the mouse, for the little mitten was just beginning to stretch. We don't have any more room. I'll be very careful, said the boar. With that, he squinched himself into the mitten with the mouse and the frog, the owl, the rabbit, the fox, and the wolf. I know this because my grandfather told me. I like the little frog poking his head out. Made a little window there, poking her head out. But the worst was yet to come, for who should appear now but a bear? He was very big and very cold. No room, no room, cried the animals, even before the bear had a chance to speak. And now the owl and frog are looking through the little window, and here comes the bear. Although I think this bear looks really cute. I don't know why. I just think this bear looks very soft and warm. Could probably sleep under the bear. Nonsense, said the bear. There's always room for one more. And without so much as a please or thank you, he began crawling into the mitten. He put his paw in first, and the mitten creaked and groaned. He put his other paw in, and one of the seams popped. Then he took a big breath and pushed himself in. It's kind of rude, right? Look over here. Help! Now, while all this was going on, along came a little black cricket. She was very cold, and her creaky legs ached with the cold. When she saw the mitten, she said to herself, "Now that looks like a nice warm place. I'll just hop over and see if I can squeeze in too." I like this flower. These are snowdrops. So there's the mitten, and here comes Mrs. Cricket. Very tiny, very old. But ah me, that's all that was needed to finish off the poor old mitten. The cricket had no more than put her first scratchy foot inside when with a rip and a snap the stitches came apart, the old leather cracked, and the soft red lining split in half, popping all of the animals into the snow. Oh my goodness. There's Owl all the way over here. Look at Mouse. She's like, oh well. Well, at this very moment, the little boy discovered that he had only one mitten, so back he went to see where he might have dropped the other one. But all he could find were the ripped-apart pieces, and he thought he saw a little mouse scurrying away with a bit of red wool perched on her head. It looked very much like the lining from the thumb of his missing mitten. "Oh, well," said the boy, as he snuggled his cold hand inside his coat, "my grandmother will surely have my new mittens finished by now." Then he hurried home with the north wind nipping at his cheeks. See little Mouse in the back made a hat out of the wool lining. There's the boy. grandfather says he never did know what really happened to his Mitten. So that was the grandfather telling this story. And do you think he made up the story because he didn't know what had happened to his Mitten? Yeah, he came up with that from his imagination, right? Well, I hope you guys liked that book. I still cannot believe we have snow out there. It's not too much, but still, snow in April is kind of a funny thing. Well, I really hope you guys have a great week, and I miss you all, and I want you to stay healthy and happy, and I will see you all next week. Okay, bye-bye.